Meriam Khalil, welcome to the Not So Stupid podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Jama?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, for those unaware, Meriam was a client of ours at StoopidFit for about 15 months. So, it was a good period of time, and we got a lot done in that period of time. But I want her to share her story with you all more than me talking about it. So, Meriam, why don't you give people a little bit of background about you, what you were feeling before starting, and where you were at before deciding to commit?
Yeah. So, hey, everyone. I'm Mariam. I am a retail pharmacist. I work as a floater at Walgreens. For people who don't know what a floater is, it's basically an on-call pharmacist. So, your schedule isn't really planned out ahead of time. So, you cover vacations or leaves of absence. So, if something's not already in, you'll get like a call that day before noon if you're scheduled. If you're not, you just assume you're off. So that's what I do. I've been working out for about like 6 to 5 years, consistently more after I graduated college. Um, the feelings that I had before starting this program, I was kind of very hesitant and worried just because my past experience with personal trainers wasn't that great. I had a personal trainer maybe my second year of pharmacy school, and the way that they approached it wasn't really the best way. They kind of increased my calories right away, and I never really ate a lot to begin with. So within a short span of my working with them, within 2 months, I gained like 10 to 15 pounds of not muscle but fat. So I was kind of traumatized with that experience, and I was kind of hesitant to reach out to any other trainers because I thought their style was just the same and I was going to be put through the same type of thing. Afterwards, I worked on just cardio for a good like 3 months, and I just did like high intensity training intervals, and I think I was able to get back to my normal weight within 3 months. So that's kind of what I was doing before I decided to like sign up. I actually had issues with figuring out like why I was doing things. I'm a really big believer on like, oh, if I'm doing something, I want to know why I'm doing it, and they didn't really go through that. So I was like, okay, this isn't what I signed up for. So, but yeah.
So what was going through your mind though, like on your own journey where you were like, I I'm just is it just because you didn't know why you were doing things and you needed someone to help give you those answers that you sought after a coach? Or was there just like, I'm putting all this energy in, I'm not getting where I want to be, I gotta find somebody to help me? Like what was the kind of breaking point for you to actually go back and consider working with someone again?
Yeah, so right when I finished pharmacy school, I had like a point where I was very consistent with my weight, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm doing all these things, but I'm not seeing any results anymore, and I felt like I was like at a plateau. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out what's going on. Like, why am I not losing weight? Why does it look like I'm just staying the same? Um, so that was my why as to what I wanted to do. Like I just wanted to reach out to someone to be able to help me with that. I also needed to know like why I was doing things because I heard a lot of different opinions from people. Because I'd reach out to people who were trainers or people at Lifetime, and everyone had a different approach. So I'm like, okay, I need to figure out like what's best for me because my body isn't the same as yours, and everything that they're doing isn't going to work for me essentially. So I just had to figure out like who do I ask for help. I was kind of iffy about Lifetime trainers, not for any reason, just because I just felt like I needed someone that I knew there was proof that like these people were getting results. So I didn't really have that there. But yeah.
So the struggle was mostly like going through these reps, not seeing what you want to see, and then verifying the trust and credibility of, are these people actually going to do what they say they're going to do, or are they just, there,
Yeah.
essentially, right? you
Yeah.
wanted you wanted proof behind what they were doing. Now, when you were starting, obviously there was skepticism, like you mentioned. You
Hmm.
were very scared about having the prior experiences repeat themselves, right? With
Hmm.
your old trainer, you don't want to have that happen again to you, because that's obviously the opposite of what you want to happen.
Yeah.
But what let you kind of led you to kind of trust that process? Was it just seeing the proof of previous successes, or was it something else entirely?
Um, it was kind of that and other things. So my whole thing is like seeing that people are able to go from like a transformation, but like during that transformation, you don't see what's going on in between. So it's kind of like lost.
Hmm.
During my process, I think what really helped me was being able to, um, what was that? Being able to physically get the answers from you, basically. So if we were doing something, you would tell me, like, you would give me background as to why we're doing it or different routes as to what we can do. And so I think that was a huge disconnect with other approaches that I took. I didn't really know why I was doing it. I was just doing it because I thought that's what you do, or I would see it on Instagram. No one would give me like, "Oh, this is why you're doing it because this will happen," or I'm very like factual. So like, if you do something, this should happen, and if it doesn't happen, then I'm like, why am I doing this? So, but yeah,
Yeah, you found more purpose behind all of the decisions you were making,
yes,
basically. Yeah, that's really cool. So then, going through the program, right, early on, you had a lot of really big wins to start things off. What was the first major breakthrough that you felt like you had that kind of created momentum for you to keep going and push forward with that?
this one's good. I love this one because I had like a couple, but I think my main one was I was in my diet phase the whole time. I just felt like nothing was working. Besides, like it was working, but the area that I wanted to lose weight in wasn't like happening. So I'm like, okay, something's going on. And so the big aha moment for me was like 2 weeks before I ended, and I finally lost an inch from my legs, and that was like my problem area, and it's been a problem area for me. So finally seeing that kind of put everything into perspective, and my big takeaway was just being patient and that it takes time and consistency. um, the other thing was that um, the big aha moment was when I finally realized you can't spot reduce. And my whole thing was like, okay, if I'm losing inches and fat in other areas, why am I not losing it at the same rate in my lower body? So it was kind of like a disconnect for me, and I was like not willing to accept it. But then at that moment, I was like, okay, it's going to happen. It just kind of takes a little time, and you have to just be mindful of it when you're in your process. So that was like two main aha moments for me.
Yeah, I remember obviously the thighs were a big area of concern for you and what we wanted to reduce in the diet phase. So when we went through probably 16 weeks of dieting and you still didn't see a significant change, you were like getting frustrated. Even
Yeah.
though you lost like a dozen or more inches across the rest of your body, you
Yeah.
were like fixated on the fact you only lost half an inch or whatever negligible amount on your thighs during that period. But then the last month, uh, of the diet phase, when we finally did those last measurements, like an inch and a half fell off, and it just took that time because it is your stubborn area. It is going to take longer. So
Yeah.
I do remember that moment when you were finally so relieved because you carried so much stress over those
Yeah.
last 8 weeks.
Yeah, no, that was like a big aha moment. I kept just thinking to myself, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, am I doing something wrong? I just really was fixated on just like fitting into a size smaller jean, like which I was able to by the end, but it wasn't like it didn't determine if I was happier or more satisfied with my body. So just realizing that was kind of good in a sense because your happiness isn't going to be tied to like what size you're going to be at the end. And so that was another aha moment for me, just knowing that like you need to be happy in the whole process, not just once you hit that like goal or that result you're looking for.
Yeah, I love that you said that because I think one of the biggest things we worked on was the mental side of things, your mindset,
Hmm.
your perspective on different situations and obstacles as they come up. And, um, you know, you recognized through all the time you spent working on this that happiness isn't a destination you reach once you accomplish something. Like you said, it's something that you choose to do uh, regardless of the circumstance. And I was very proud of you for having recognized that once you got to that point, because very early on
Yeah.
you were stuck on this gene size
Yeah.
idea, but it finally clicked, like you said.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's like my main takeaway. I think the whole process was just crazy in its own, just because I was mentally very negative about myself. So just learning to not do that is kind of helpful in your journey because you're not going to want to do things if you're so negative all the time. So learning to shift my perspective was a huge thing for me, just being more positive, and just not being hateful towards my body. I think I just had a huge identity crisis, and I just talked about this yesterday with a friend. We were at the gym and he's like, I have fat boy syndrome. And I was like, what is that? And he was like, it's basically like you're not fat anymore, but you're just insecure about your body. And I was like, okay, I really think that's a thing because like me and my friend are like, yeah, I think we have fat girl syndrome then. And so I think it's just realizing that you can be smaller and just it's just working on yourself because you can be smaller, but you could still be insecure just because like you were possibly potentially bigger and you don't think you're smaller. And so just having that mind shift's important, I think. So,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that, separating um, the physical from the mental, because they
Yeah.
are two different things. I love that.
Yeah.
So now going into we talked about a lot of the general results and we kind of alluded to these things, but what were a lot of the more specific results that you achieved, going through the program and having gone through multiple phases of things?
Yes. Okay. So this one's awesome because I wasn't expecting all the results that came with it, but I tend to lose a lot more in my upper body. So across my whole body, I lost about 12 inches now. I haven't done my measurements this month, but I'm going to. I lost about an inch and a half of my legs. I was able to lose my I lost fat in my glutes, but then I gained what I lost within my maintenance phase. I gained more definition all around my body. I'm a lot more firm. I'm not like just loose meat. I learned how to do movements. Like I was very against certain movements at the gym. Like I wouldn't do squats if they weren't on the Smith machine. That was one thing. So I finally learned to do standing squats, and I'm able to physically do the form correctly because that's a huge thing for me. I won't do a movement if I can't do it correctly. So I'm able to brace my core now, and I can actually do 155 with great form, and that's full depth. So I gained a lot of strength all around. I can do sumo deadlifts over 200 pounds, which is amazing because I never thought I could. I can do bench press, and I don't think I ever would have done it before doing this because I just assumed I couldn't lift that, and now I could do 95 pounds. I'm more positive as a person. I was very, very like negative before this whole process. So it's just the whole thing has transformed me both mentally and physically. And I'm a lot more confident at the gym. And it shows because a lot of people even come up to me and ask me, like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I'm literally doing the same thing you are. So it's kind of rewarding to see that. So yeah, I just gained a lot of great things doing this program.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I just want to add, like, for clarification,
Hmm.
for what you said earlier, we went through multiple phases of your program. It wasn't
Hmm.
just fat loss all the way through. We actually started with adding calories and you lost inches doing that.
Hmm.
And then we went through that maintenance phase for a little bit. Then we went through the actual fat loss phase, and then we went through a little build phase. So that's
Hmm.
what you were referencing when you said, you lost in your glutes and you gained them back. You built them back up in the build
Yeah.
phase, intentionally. So I love all the changes that you made, but more importantly, the fact that you recomped your body so dramatically, and you were able to get definition across your body that you never had before. You know, all really positive things, but definitely the most important and the one I'm happiest about is your shift in perspective and your confidence that you built up as well. And I'm sure you're just as happy about that too.
Yeah, no, that was like a huge thing for me. I'm like, I need to figure out how to be less mean to myself. And it's kind of shown throughout like everything. And all my friends are kind of like, oh, wow, like you're completely different. I was like, yeah, it's kind of rewarding in that sense because you don't assume that you're going to have a mental shift when you're doing like a fitness thing. You just always assume it's like physical. And
Mhm.
so realizing that it's more than that is really rewarding.
Yeah, no, that's always a surprise that most people don't recognize and how it applies to the rest of your life. But now, on that note, you've obviously gained a lot from this. What kind of people do you think would benefit from? Who would you recommend this program to that would find a lot of value both with the changes in their body and with the positive shifts in their life as well?
Yes. I really think anyone can benefit from a coach. I'm just saying this because I think a lot of us might think we know what we're doing at the gym, program wise, workout wise, eating wise. Um, Anyone who doesn't have a good support system would benefit from this because I personally didn't have a good support system at home. I got a lot of like negative vibes and comments from like family or just some people at the gym just don't always have your best interest, and so they'll try to shift what you're doing, and it kind of dictates your goals or what you're doing because you want to believe what they're saying, but it's kind of knowing what works best for you too. And so a coach really helps you individualize what's best for you. So that's someone that I think would be benefiting from this. Someone who's not comfortable working out too, because if you're not comfortable, you might never go to the gym, and so you might need like that extra support or kind of comfort to get you there and just moving slowly into it. Because I know the gym can be intimidating. I never was able to like lift free weights or go to the bench press because I was like, oh, this is like where the guys are. Like the girls can't go here. So just being able to like shift that mindset to be like, okay, this is like for everyone, not just guys. So um, I think it'd be good for anyone who's trying to learn in a simple way and be able to take this with them forever. Because I think this is always like a lifelong journey. You don't just lose weight and then want to gain it back. So anyone who has a busy work life would definitely benefit too, because I wasn't able to kind of navigate through it because my schedule is so random. So if someone's like busy and they don't know how to prioritize their time, a coach is really good with that because they can get you to get to the gym, but you're having like more effective workouts. I wasn't able to. I was always in the gym longer than I needed to be before this, and so I go to the gym maybe 5 times a week, and I take the rest as off days, and it's great because like mentally you kind of need it, and just other things like balancing your stress and stuff. So um, if you're hesitant about it, I really think that the program is going to change you completely, like both physically and mentally. So if you're kind of on the fence, that's like a way to kind of get you to want to do it. You will gain a lot of knowledge and be more positive about yourself. And the approach is really designed to be what's best for you, not what's best for the person on Instagram. Because like we're always constantly comparing ourselves. So I think being able to realize that what's going to work for someone isn't going to always work for you, and being just honest with yourself about it. But yeah.
I love that. I love that because I think, a lot of people might like the idea of getting a coach, but they're always hesitant to actually commit for that fear of, man, what if this goes wrong? Or maybe I don't deserve this for myself. But
Yeah.
it's always worth it, you're saying. And I love that you said it like that.
Yeah, no, I think everyone's scared that they're going to gain weight when they start with someone because, like, the approach might be different starting. Like, I was always hesitant because I knew I wasn't eating enough. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat more. That means I'm going to gain weight. And we associate, like, more eating with, like, gaining weight. And so it's kind of hard to mentally get someone to be trusting of it until they kind of, like, see it for themselves. That's just me, though. I don't know if everyone else is
Hmm.
like that, but I have to see things to believe them, which is not always a good thing. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. That was great. I appreciate all that you had to say, Miriam. So now, last question for you. I know you listen to the podcast, so you
Yeah.
know what the last question is, but it's called the Not So Stupid Podcast. You mentioned that there's simplicity in this lifelong journey that you take away from. What
Yep.
is one simple thing that you recommend for someone going through this journey that you went through that will help them make the most of it?
Um, okay. One thing I think everyone could take from this program is just learning to be uncomfortable in uncomfortable situations, because when you're going through different phases like in your journey, like I feel like people are scared to be uncomfortable, so they switch quickly. So I think the main
Mm,
takeaway for everyone is like if you're in a specific phase, try to stick it out even if you're uncomfortable, because like I think that's where you make the most growth. And I know there's a lot of things that go into it, like people will be negative towards you, but learning that kind of makes you into a better person and you're stronger mentally and physically for it. So I think trying things that you never thought you would try, just getting out of your comfort zone, is something that I think everyone should do when they're like along their fitness journey. Because I know we tend to stay in this like mindset of we should just do what we're used to. We shouldn't like try something new. And so I think doing that is like key in growing as a person. So, but yeah, that's like my main takeaway from your program, because when I have done any of the things I did in the program, if I didn't get a coach. So I'm always thankful for it because I learned a lot and it's definitely shaped me into who I am today.
I love that. I appreciate that because I know you went through a lot of discomfort and you want to like quit some phases early. You want to quit the diet phase early. You want to quit the build phase early, but you
Yes.
stuck through it. And then once you finished it, you were always happier
Yeah.
with the result at the end. You just have to look at the bigger picture always, right? You can't
Yeah.
get caught up in the day to day. So I love that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. No,
Awesome. Excuse me. Awesome, Meriam. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story uh, through the coaching program. Definitely appreciate you. And very thankful to have you on and volunteer to do this on the show as well. Um, all the listeners, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.